last time we got here in June, he did a good job. We got Greg back here.
Was he more enthusiastic? He was more enthusiastic, wasn't he? That's why I bring him.
Well, you make the numbers come off of the pages.
All right, so, halfway through our year, cash is about 1.5 million, and most of those dollars are sitting in our micro loan account, as we have, increased our output there. Right now, we're kind of holding steady on keeping that balance where that is. It's about $1 million in that account, mainly due to the fact that at the last board meeting, I think it was approved to increase some of that, those, funding. So we're gonna see, we wanna leave that amount in that and see how the next 3 or 4 months go, whether we need to, allocate, because remember in the beginning, the operating account of the IDC funded about $500,000 to get the account started. So, again, it's all the same money in theory, but, we're just trying to keep that where it is right now to anticipate some larger borrowings, certainly over the next 6 months.
We earned anything on
Yeah, it's state, I think it's 3%. Yeah, it's pretty good rate. Our short-term investments are holding steady. Again, right now, like I said, I think we're going out almost exactly 2 years to July of 27, and we have our rate that we purchased at, so probably almost a point higher than what the current rate is, right? As rates start to, they're bouncing around a little bit, they're a little bit less than what we were, so we're in a good position there.
What's the return?
I think we're at about 4, on that one, we're at about 4.65.
That's good.
Right, so when we bought that, probably 8 months ago, that's what the rates were, and they're slowly, coming down. So, I think the current rate's about 3.5 or somewhere around there, maybe, on a 2-year, I'm looking at 2 years, so, again, I think what we're doing in terms of our strategy is working. So, again, we continue to look at on a monthly basis as we have maturities coming up, or we have more excess cash that we want to put into buying more treasuries.
Question, when do we make that determination? You gonna advise us when?
Yeah, so what we do on a month-to-month basis, if we have a treasury that's coming due, we talk with Allison and Anna about, hey, are we going to renew our treasury, right? Roll it kind of back in, or do we need any of that cash for working capital? We haven't really we haven't needed to sell any of those and bring those back into working capital because we've generated enough cash to cover our expenses, right? So that's one element that we look at every single month. And then the other element is that if we determine we have excess cash that's not earning an interest rate that is greater than what we're getting on our standard, probably 3% in our operating or money markets, we'll take that excess cash and buy a treasury, again, going out, looking at what the best, rate is for us, whether that's a little bit of a short-term thing or continuing the ladder process, buying basically treasuries every 3 months out. And so, like I said, our last treasury, our longest treasury matures in July 15, 2027 at a very favorable rate right now compared to what the rates are today.
Any questions for Greg other than mine? Guess you guys are all right with him, right?
I'll finish the report at a high level. RLF, again, received $10,500 in principal, $2,800 of interest last month. Micro loan, we received $43,000 of principal in June, another $8,800 of interest in June. On a year-to-date look, we've received $215,000 of interest on our portfolio and almost $45,000 of interest on that money. So all good there. All of our other assets and liabilities are in line with our budgets and expectations. overall revenue's in a really good position, as you can see. You know, our 504 program is tracking, you know, fairly close to budget. Our bank interest, which really represents our treasuries, is up a little bit compared to what we have a budget, because when we did the budget, we did anticipate our interest rates being a little bit lower than what we've been, you know, where we are. Thought those were gonna go down a little bit, so we're up a little bit there. The revenue other represents the $230,000 of bond fee that we received last month. So, you know, again, a revenue, certainly outpacing, our budget and last year. And, our expenses are all in line with really what our budget is. The big one there is that what we call that non-cash bad debt, that, as we have talked about, represents 15% of our loan portfolio that we're reserving. It's not an actual cash expense, it's more of a reserve on our portfolio that we look at. You know, basically every quarter we kind of analyze where that is, and more of a year-end adjustment, whether we're in line with what, if we do anticipate any of the $3 million of our micro loan portfolio, where that fits, and if we've had any collection issues. So we continue to look at that on a quarterly basis.
Have we had any?
Yeah.
3 have officially defaulted. We're in process with that with Barry, and then there's 2 that are on the watch list.
So 3 out of how many?
Out of, we're almost 80 now.
80.
I mean, a lot less than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Now, we do,
Take a
when
little
people,
time to
if their
ripen.
check bounces or their payment bounces, we are on the phone with them, so we're working with people a lot, so we are spending time with people getting payments, but we're getting them, so.
Yeah, better than expected,
Mhm.
I think, and again, we'll see this next tranche of, you know, investments, you know, the higher dollar amounts, what those borrowers look like, and, we may anticipate some change in that reserve, but, you know, we'll talk about that as we kind of go and see what that looks like. But overall, through 6 months, like I said, very strong month, stronger than we were at this point last year, probably the, you know, like I would say even if you take out the microloan grant income and look at apples to apples historically as an organization of where we have been, if you take that out, we're still probably at a $70,000 profit through 6 months. Like I said, as an organization, we were probably operating in a deficit for quite a few years, and so very strong financials, very strong balance sheet, and certainly anticipate this continuing at least, you know, certainly through the next, you know, 6 months of the year. Questions?
Any more questions for Greg? Thank you, man, good report. This might be the highlight of the meeting. We're going down from here. Barry, you wanna introduce the St. John's Road?
Yes, thank you. What we have before you today is an application to issue tax exempt bonds in the current estimated amount of about $55 million, not to exceed $58 million for St. John's Home for the Aging and SJH Community Services, Inc. About $51 million of the 55 will be refinancing of prior MCIDC bonds that were issued in 2017 and 2015. There's also a new money component, about $4 million, and this project will retain 128 and a half jobs, and this would be the final authorizing resolution. Here with us today, we have Sabrina McLeod and Janet Wixom. Sabrina's the VP and CFO, and Janet is the Vice President of Strategy. And they're here to describe a little bit more about the project, specifically the new money piece.
Thank you. I appreciate your time today. Just to talk about the component of the $4 million new money. We actually have several components of that, mostly happening at the St. John's Home for the Aging, which we refer to as the Meadows. That's right on Elmwood Avenue. As part of this, we will be utilizing the funds to update an area of the building that has not been renovated, replace some existing asphalt roadways, and update some of our roofs. We will be completing a renovation to the main lobby of what we refer to as our Chestnut Court lobby in our building to match the aesthetic of our other renovated parts of the building. This will include a renovation to the main lobby in which our residents sit and mingle with one another and build relationships. Currently that lobby is small and there's no place for them to engage and congregate, and it includes building out a concierge welcome desk with storage and a mailroom for the resident packages. In addition, we'll be updating our current cafe, which has outgrown its designated functionality. We will be renovating the space to allow for a more versatile restaurant with a full menu. We will be adding a hood and exhaust system to allow us to start using traditional cooking methods and equipment that will utilize an open flame. We will be doing this to enhance our residents' overall dining experience and expanding our retail area in which we sell essential items to the residents who may not be able to get out of the building. We will also be updating our largest gathering room on the campus. This is included in the space is an expansion that will increase the square footage of the existing space and the square footage of that room by approximately 100 square feet. That allows us to increase our ability to hold larger events for the residents that currently reside there. In addition to adding to the footprint inside the existing building, we'll be expanding the footprint on the outside of the existing building to accommodate two 16 by 16 by 24 elevators. Currently, there is an elevator that is in the middle of the building, making it difficult for those residents who have difficulty walking to get to the elevator to go to the different floors. This would put elevators on either side of the building, on both ends of that, to make it easier for them to go up and down within the building. It actually adds approximately 1,024 square feet to our existing building. The last part of the funding we will utilize to update our main roadways into both campuses, and as well as update part of the roofs on our existing buildings. Again, thank you for your consideration regarding this project. Any questions for me?
Elevators are expensive, aren't they?
Yes, they're about $1 million of this project. Yes, they're super expensive. Yeah.
Hard to get parts.
Yes.
Any questions, for Sabrina and Jen?
Thank you very much.
At this point, one more thing, I would like to close the public hearing. It's 12:17. And one other thing I'll note is that the bond purchaser for this debt has already been selected, and it's M&T.
Okay, so we have a motion. That is here. Why don't you read it, Gary?
Sure. This is a motion to approve up to $58 million in tax-exempt bond financing for the St. John's Home for the Aging, SJF Community Services Common Inc. for the refinancing of prior bonds and to renovate and equip the Meadows and Brickstone facilities.
I'll make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain. I don't oppose.
Passes, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So I have one follow-up question on the bonds though.
Sure.
So why do we, if it's over 20 million, we then take the legal fee and take it off our fee, right?
Over 50 million.
What's that?
Over 50 million.
Over 50, okay. So in this case, that would apply.
Correct.
So why do we do that? I don't know.
So, ultimately, that has been what has historically been done and as part of your fee policy schedule. You don't have to do that, obviously.
A competitive thing, I think, right?
Yeah,
allows
I mean,
us to
it-
be more
it's-
competitive
yeah,
against other
It's so that it's not an additional fee to the borrower, right?
Yeah, no, I got that.
Yeah, but to your point, do you
But
have to do
When
that?
you look at the market for those fees,
which we just did last year.
Yeah.
We went through this last year.
We were higher than just about everybody.
The guy next to you is responsible.
that's good.
No, No,
probably
we
why this
reviewed
was
everything
taking
and
so
went
long.
through that and
Yeah.
we proved, I think it was last summer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We need to go into executive session, we need a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We got a motion to approve, $409,000, or is it $409,500? Which one? Okay, all right. SBA 504 commercial mortgage for the purpose of purchasing a building in the town of Greece and submit to the SBA.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions, or?
I abstain.
Okay, all right.
I unfortunately have to leave, I apologize.
We got one more.
I know, I have to go.
Okay, all right. Motion to approve, $1,060,000 SBA 504 commercial mortgage for the purpose of purchasing a building in the city of Rochester, and submitting that to the SBA.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any, abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, you abstain. Okay. All right, Brittany also took.
Mulder hasn't pulled out to that.
Two abstentions, okay. All right.
I'll leave that, John.
So if that's it, Anna, annual report?
Yes, the annual report was submitted on time. Thank you to staff, Tony, Craig, and the whole team. The report without its attachments is in your board packet. Is Dave Richards with us, or? Okay.
Dave actually ran into an issue.
Oh, he did, okay. Dave's report was included also in the board packet. This independent, loan review is required by the SBA every 2 years. And I also especially wanna recognize Ashley on our team. I don't think Ashley's in the room, but, she was instrumental in supporting Tony and Craig in completing the report on time. It's quite time consuming, kinda like Paris, as you could imagine. So, with that, there will be a couple of motions that will need to accept and approve the loan portfolio review and the annual report as presented in the packet.
Are there any questions for Anna? Let's move right to the business. The motion to accept the SBA 504 loan portfolio review is presented.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion to approve the 2024 SBA annual report as presented.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any other business?
I'm really sorry about the lunch. That was just a staff mistake and it won't happen again. But we've got chips for everybody.
That's fine. No.
Seeing that there's no other business, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?